My name is Jillian, and I'll never forget the sound of their laughter. Not the joyful, warm kind, the sharp, humiliating one that cuts through your chest like glass. It happened at my parents' long, mahogany dining table, the same one where birthdays, holidays, and supposed family bonding used to happen. Only this time, the laughter was directed at me. "Come on, Jillian," my brother Logan said, swirling his wine like he owned the world. "You own a house in North Hills? You can't even afford your own Wi-Fi half the time." The table erupted. My father chuckled behind his napkin. My mother tried to hide her smirk. And there I was, fork halfway to my mouth, cheeks burning. Every word of their laughter clung to me like smoke. That was the night I promised myself one thing. I will never, ever let them laugh at me again. If you've ever been underestimated by your own family, if you've ever swallowed your pain while they mocked your dreams, then stay with me, because this story isn't just about revenge. It's about earning back your worth in the loudest, most satisfying way possible. Hit that like button, subscribe, and get ready, because what I did next made every laugh at that table die in their throats. It wasn't always like this. Growing up, I used to think Logan hung the moon. He was the golden boy, straight A's, football captain, the kind of son parents brag about to strangers. Me, I was the quiet one, the creative child who liked sketching clothes and sewing old curtains into dresses. To them, my dreams weren't real, they were just cute hobbies. But my heart was always louder than their expectations. I dreamed of running my own fashion label, designs that made women feel powerful, not perfect. When I dropped out of college to pursue it full-time, my parents treated it like a crime. "You're throwing your life away," my mother hissed. "Just admit it," Logan added. "You couldn't handle real work." I remember packing my bags that night, leaving with 2 suitcases and a heart full of shame. Fast forward 3 years later, and the so-called failure had become my obsession. I worked out of a cramped apartment in downtown Raleigh. One window, no air conditioning, and an old sewing machine that coughed like it had asthma. I'd wake up before sunrise, design till my eyes blurred, and sell my clothes online to anyone who'd look twice. It was lonely, exhausting, and yet, somehow I felt alive. Every order was a spark. Every customer review was oxygen. My first viral moment came when a lifestyle influencer wore my Midnight Bloom dress. Within a week, I sold 700 units. It wasn't fame. It was validation. Still, my family didn't care. When I visited for Thanksgiving that year, they looked at me like an unwelcome interruption. "Still chasing that silly dream?" my father asked. "Fashion's temporary," my mother added, slicing her pie. "Real success is stability, something your brother understands." Logan smiled that smug, picture-perfect smile. "Yeah, Jill, when you're done playing dress-up, maybe I'll hire you to manage my rental properties." Everyone laughed again. Everyone except me. I sat there, my fork still, pretending not to hear the blood rushing in my ears. I stared at my reflection in the silver spoon, forcing myself not to cry, because tears would be exactly what they wanted. But inside, a fire started to build. Quiet, steady, and merciless. I didn't respond that night. I didn't scream or fight back. I just smiled and excused myself early. But in my car, under the streetlight, I whispered, "All right, Logan. Let's see who owns what in a few years." That night became my turning point. I threw myself into my business like a woman possessed. Every penny went back into production. I learned digital marketing, hired a small team of freelancers, and expanded into eco-friendly fabrics. 2 years later, Jillian Rose Studio wasn't a dream anymore, it was a brand. A small, but fiercely loyal empire. By year 3, I had contracts with boutique stores in Charlotte, Austin, and even New York. I wasn't rich yet, but I was close. And then came the moment that changed everything. One afternoon, while scrolling through listings for fabric suppliers, I saw a headline pop up. North Hills Estate, $3.2 million, modern colonial, open concept infinity pool. It was the exact neighborhood where Logan had built his house. The same place he said I'd never belong. My hands trembled as I clicked the link. The pictures were unreal, sunlight streaming across marble floors, a staircase like something out of a magazine. It felt impossible until I saw the note. Owner relocating overseas. Urgent sale. The timing. The price. The poetic symmetry. Everything screamed fate. I ran the numbers, heart pounding. Between brand profits, savings, and a silent investor friend, I could actually make it work. That night, I made an offer. When the agent called back 2 days later saying, "Congratulations, Ms. Rose, it's yours," I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I just whispered the same words I said in my car years ago. "All right, Logan. Let's see who owns what now." Owning that house wasn't just victory. It was justice. Silent, gleaming, beautiful justice. But I wasn't done yet. Because what's the point of revenge if the people who broke, you never know you've won? That, dear listener, was where my plan began. After signing the papers for the North Hills mansion, I could barely sleep. Not from excitement, but from imagining their faces when they'd realize whose name was on that deed. Every room I walked into felt like reclaiming a piece of my dignity. The marble floors echoed under my bare feet, and the first night I stood by the infinity pool, the city lights reflecting on the water, I whispered, "This is for every time you laughed at me." But revenge wasn't just about owning the house, it was about them seeing it. So I started planning. A family reunion dinner. My excuse, "I've been doing well, and I'd love to host you all for a celebration." My mother responded first, as cold as ever. "Celebration? For what, dear? Did your little clothing thing finally turn into a real job?" I smiled at my screen. "Oh, you'll see," Logan replied within minutes. "Sure, I'll come. But I'll bring champagne. We'll toast to your latest Etsy milestone." His arrogance was almost comforting now. Predictable. He hadn't changed. He still believed I was beneath him. And that was perfect. In the weeks leading up to dinner, I prepared everything down to the last candle. The dining table was custom-made, white oak with gold trim. The chandelier shimmered above it like something out of a dream. Every corner of the house screamed elegance. I even hired a private chef, Daniel, a friend who supported me since the early days of my business. He knew exactly what the night meant. "You really want them here?" he asked while setting down crystal glasses. "Yeah," I said. "They built this version of me. They should meet her." The day of the dinner arrived like a silent drumbeat. My parents pulled up first in my father's black sedan. My mother stepped out, scanning the place with suspicion. "This can't be hers," I heard her mutter. Then Logan's SUV rolled in behind them, polished, loud, overconfident. He whistled low. "Nice rental, sis. Whose place did you borrow for this little charade?" I didn't answer. I just opened the grand double doors and said, "Welcome home." Their eyes darted everywhere, from the chandelier to the art-lined hallways. The disbelief on their faces was worth every sleepless night I'd ever spent sewing by hand. As dinner began, the tension thickened. My father cleared his throat. "So, whose house is this, Jillian?" I smiled, slicing into my steak. "Oh, you'll find out soon enough." Logan laughed, shaking his head. "Whatever. Let's just eat before your landlord kicks us out." I glanced at Daniel across the room, our silent signal. The reveal was near. Because this wasn't just a dinner. It was the setup for their downfall. Dinner unfolded like a performance, and I was the only one who knew the ending. Logan was already halfway through his second glass of wine, bragging about his latest smart investment. Apparently, he poured thousands into some luxury rental startup that was about to explode. My father nodded proudly, hanging on every word. "That's my boy," he said, beaming. "Always thinking big. You could learn something from him, Jillian." I smiled faintly, cutting my steak. "Oh, I already have, Dad. I've learned how to invest, just a little differently." My mother frowned. "Don't start, Jillian. Tonight isn't about competing." Her tone carried that same superiority, like my success could never be real enough to matter. But the truth was, they'd never stopped competing with me. Even when I was a child, every compliment I got somehow circled back to Logan. "Oh, Jill sews cute dresses," Mom would say. "But Logan's got the brains in the family." I swallowed hard, the memory stinging sharper than the wine. And that's when I decided it was time. I stood up slowly, the hem of my silver dress brushing the polished floor. "Actually, Mom," I said softly, "tonight is about competing and winning." Logan smirked. "What's this, another pep talk? Don't tell me you rented this mansion just to prove something." I tilted my head. "Rented?" I laughed lightly. "That's cute. Then I reached into my clutch and pulled out a white folder, the property deed. For a moment, nobody moved. Then Logan frowned. "What's that supposed to be?" I slid the folder across the table. "Proof," I said, "that this isn't a rental. It's mine. Every square foot, every tile, every wall you just mocked." The room went silent, the kind of silence that hums. My father's jaw tightened. My mother's fork clattered against her plate. Logan's face twisted, trying to mask disbelief behind a laugh. "Wait, you bought this place? You expect us to believe that?" I leaned forward. "I don't need you to believe it. The deed already has my name on it." The air cracked like a storm about to break. Logan shoved back his chair, standing. "You think you're better than us now? With your silly dresses and online followers." His voice rose, harsh and brittle. "You'll never be more than the joke of this family, Jillian." I stood too, calm, steady, untouchable. "You're right," I said quietly. "I was the joke, until I stopped caring about your punchlines." The old Jillian would have cried. But tonight, the only thing glistening on my face was confidence. My mother muttered, "This is embarrassing." My father grumbled, "Show off." Logan grabbed his glass, but his hand trembled. And I realized, right then, the balance of power had shifted, permanently. Still, I wasn't finished. Because revenge wasn't just about revealing the truth. It was about making them feel the same smallness they made me feel all those years. And the next part of my plan would do exactly that. The house smelled like citrus and wood polish, clean, decisive. I had choreographed everything down to the second. Revenge, I decided, needed rhythm. Not chaos, not cruelty for cruelty's sake. It needed a cadence that would make every moment land exactly where it should. Step 1, control the audience. I sent formal invitations, not the casual, come by messages my family was used to. Heavy cream cards, gold script, a private RSVP line. I invited family, of course, but sprinkled in people who mattered. Boutique owners who carried my line, the influencer who'd worn Midnight Bloom, a local lifestyle journalist, and 3 investors, the kind of people who would make Logan's bravado look small beside real success. Step 2, the staging. The living room was a study in contrasts. Modern art, heirloom rugs, and family photos that I'd subtly replaced with images of my own journey, sketches from the early days, photos of the sewing machine I still owned, the first storefront pop-up with a tiny handwritten sign. I wanted them seeing the work behind the glamour. Step 3, the trigger. Dinner started the same, polite, tight-lipped. The private chef plated courses like delicate sculptures. Conversation skimmed the surface. Logan was loud, as always, telling the same lines about his next big thing. He still didn't suspect beyond the deed. Halfway through the main course, Daniel, my friend and the chef, dimmed the lights. A hush fell like a curtain. I stood slowly, feeling the room tilt toward me. "I invited you all here tonight to celebrate a home," I said. My voice was even. "But mainly I invited you because I want you to see something I built with my hands and my stubbornness." I cued the slideshow. The projector flickered to life, and the first image filled the wall. A grainy photo of a cramped apartment, of fabric scraps, and hand stained with dye. People murmured. The journalist leaned forward. Logan's smile looked brittle. Image after image, late-night work sessions, shipments boxed in my kitchen, the influencer's post that changed everything, played across the wall. The montage ended on a close-up of the deed, my name embossed in black ink. Then, as planned, my phone buzzed. A simple notification. A live headline from a local financial tracker I'd paid to surface at that exact moment. Logan Mercer's luxury rentals. Default risk spikes. Major investor pulls out. I watched Logan's face as if reading Braille. Color drained. He muttered, "What is that?" and fumbled for his phone, the same smugness gone, replaced by panic. I hadn't hacked anything. I'd simply done what every small business owner learns. Timing and networks. Friends I'd made over 3 years. A legitimate financial reporter who owed me a favor after I supplied dresses for a charity gala agreed to mention Logan's failing venture in passing during the evening's small talk. I ceded doubts. I let real people ask real questions about Logan's too-good-to-be-true investment. The ripple spread. Then I turned attention away from him. "Everyone here has been part of the story," I told the room. "Not because of pity, but because you believe the work. You showed up. My voice softened when I looked at my parents. I invited you because I wanted you to see that dreams can look messy and still become something real. Logan tried to interrupt. He rose, voice loud and shaky, fingers nervous around his glass. This is a setup. She's trying to humiliate me. Maybe, I said, cool as the marble beneath my feet. Or maybe this is just the first night you stopped being the center of the world. He flailed for control. Investors exchanged guarded looks. The journalists scribbled notes. My mother's hand trembled as she touched the corner of the table, suddenly aware that her son's empire might be house of cards fragile. My father's pride sounded hollow. The room pulsed with the delicious ache of realization that the person they'd minimized had quietly built a life without their applause. That ache was my instrument. I had tuned it carefully. I let it resonate. I closed the dinner with a quiet toast. To work, to truth, and to owning what you build. Glasses chimed. Logan's jaw clenched so hard I could see the tendon at his throat. He left before dessert, storming out with the practiced theatrics of someone who still believed outrage could reclaim dignity. He didn't realize yet that the evening had already done its job. The seeds were planted. Doubt, exposure, conversation, reputation, the thing he'd always traded on, began to wobble. As the front door clicked shut behind him, I felt a strange calm. The execution was clean. The plan had moved from idea to action. Now the payoff, public and pointed, was coming. And when it landed, it would land with the weight of every year they'd laughed. 2 weeks after the dinner, Raleigh felt smaller. People talked, they always did. But this time, the whispers weren't about me. They were about Logan. His investors had started backing out. The rumor, fueled by that same journalist from the dinner, was that his company had over-leveraged properties, falsified maintenance records, and was drowning in debt. Within a month, the next big thing my brother bragged about had collapsed into a quiet scandal. And my parents, for the first time, they weren't invited to the same social circles they used to dominate. The fall of their golden sun had made them retreat, embarrassed, silent, suddenly fragile. Me. I woke up each morning to the soft hum of my espresso machine, the sunlight spilling across the marble counters of the home they said I'd never own. It wasn't just luxury, it was peace. Still, something inside me whispered that the story wasn't complete. Revenge, I realized, isn't about destruction. It's about revelation. They needed to see it one last time to understand what they'd lost when they lost me. So I invited them back. No journalists. No guests. Just the three of them. My father's voice over the phone was hesitant. Jill, after everything that's happened, are you sure you want us there? I said calmly, yes, Dad. You should see where things stand now. When they arrived, the silence between us was louder than before. My mother's eyes darted around, landing on the framed feature article hanging near the entryway. From broke to brand empire, the woman who redefined North Hill's fashion. Below it, a photo of me in front of this very mansion, my name printed in bold. They didn't speak. So I did. I spent years trying to make you proud, I said. And every time you laughed, I worked harder. Not because I wanted your approval, but because I wanted to prove to myself that I was never what you said I was. My mother looked down. My father's jaw trembled. Then, softly but clearly, I added, you were wrong about me, and about what success looks like. Logan wasn't there. He couldn't face it. I later learned he'd sold his house and moved into a rental. The irony wasn't lost on me. I walked them to the door, the same grand double doors where they'd first mocked me weeks earlier. My father turned, his voice small. You've done well, Jillian. It wasn't quite an apology, but it was more than I'd ever heard before. And then, as they stepped onto the porch, I gave them the closure I'd waited years to say. Mom, Dad, I smiled. Next time you think someone's dream is too small, remember this house. Because this time, I paused, letting the moment breathe. You're standing on my property. Their eyes widened, not in anger, but realization. Then I whispered the final line, quiet but sharp as glass. Now, please, get off my property. The door closed gently. No slam, no theatrics. Just silence. The kind that comes after a storm has finally passed. That night, I stood on the balcony, watching the city lights stretch below. For the first time in my life, I felt no need to prove anything to anyone. The The mansion wasn't revenge anymore. It was freedom. I texted Daniel. "It's done." He replied, "Then start living, Jillian." And I did. Sometimes, the best revenge isn't fire, it's growth. It's standing tall in the same place they said you'd never reach, and smiling because you made it without them. And if you've ever been underestimated, just remember, success sounds a lot like silence after laughter dies. If Jillian's story hit you right in the heart, smash that like button and tell me in the comments, what's the most satisfying revenge you've ever witnessed? And don't forget to subscribe for more stories of justice, resilience, and sweet, sweet payback, only on Shadow of Revenge.